So, NFL Network just reported that you're expected back as coach and that Stephen Ross wants you to have a chance to work with a new quarterback and a new general manager. Is that your understanding you're returning as coach?
Um, my understanding is that I'm the coach of the Miami Dolphins until told otherwise. I'm not leaning on your NFL Network source, but I think um, I think the biggest thing is it's so important in these jobs to the job itself is enough to worry about whether or not is yours or that's not part of the formula. I think we all, in the Miami Dolphins organization in particular with the Dolphins ownership, we are not happy with the results that are not up to the standard. And so my sole focus, each hour that you could reach me in the next foreseeable many hours is correcting and improving something that's not good enough right now.
Mike, how involved will you be in the general manager hiring process and interview process?
I'm going to be a part of the process, and beyond that, I think the main objective and what everyone's counting on is that we have a cohesive crew of people that are working in the same direction. So I'm happy to support all of that. It's not my decision to make, nor would I think that would be an intelligent way to go about business. I think we need to, one step at a time, improve our football team from the state that it's in, and that will be the first of many processes.
Most important part of the coach general manager relationship?
I would say, sole, unequivocal focus on, the team over self, people that can trust each other, that are highly motivated to do whatever it takes to get the job done. So I think, in the National Football League, in high pressure jobs, you really rely on each other's trust, and obviously that all the candidates will be more than qualified, but I think that's an important aspect of any football team that that I've seen be successful, and I know the all the people that I work with understand that.
Mike, what is the organization's feeling on your current quarterback situation, and how do you plan on moving forward from it?
I think the in 2026, I think there'll be competition for our starting quarterback. What that is and how it looks, there's a lot that remains to be seen. We have it's the most important position on the football field, and you have to make sure that you do everything possible to get the best person out there on the field. Who that is, whether they're in-house or somewhere else, that's something that we'll be extremely diligent on. But I know that there will be competition for those reins. That much I do know.
With that said, how will the organization move forward when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa?
I still have. I'll meet with Tua tomorrow at 8 a.m. I think, first things first. I don't think anybody quite understands what it would be like to be through the ringer of a year that he's had. So to remove emotions, to have a conversation will be very healthy, and beyond that, we're still in the process of having a GM hired. Some of these decisions that you'll want to know, like including that one, that's not a Mike McDaniel decision. It's a organizational decision that we're in the process of identifying who that is and what our best formula will be.
Mike, in terms of the process of you being involved in the GM search, do you recommend names, or you just whatever candidate comes up, you just kind of give your info or bounce back ideas?
I've been in the National Football League for 20 years, so I'm a great resource for, when I have overlap and working experience with people. I'm not curating the list. I'm not, that's not my decision, nor, I think it's in the best interest of everyone that we hire the best person for the Miami Dolphins, and that's my sole. The only thing that I'm really trying to do is aid, assist, and help. I think we have a great relationship with Tom Garfinkel and Brandon Shore and Mr. Ross and collectively the idea is to get the best person, and so I try to stay out of pointing what direction to go, because that's not really my area of expertise.
On the candidates, how would you categorize your relationship with Champ Kelly, and then how much do you like that three of them are guys you have worked with the San Francisco 49ers?
I think I think it's kind of uncharted territory every time you see someone do it. I think it's a very tall task to be an interim anything. So I think the job that Champ did was phenomenal, and inherently interim jobs aren't the ideal scenario, but I think really his communication with me was phenomenal. His really he just added value day in, day out. So I'll absolutely stand on that experience, whether that how that measures up to the other candidates. Again, this isn't my decision, and I'm not I'm there to aid, and we're trying as a group to get to the best solution possible. And with regard to, you said the three candidates, just in general, the NFL is a small circle, so you hope to have some working experience with guys, or have tightly or utilize your tight relationships amongst coaches around the league who have experience, because you just want to be able to stand by the day in, day out work ethic. But beyond that, there's only it only goes so far as to a degree of known, meaning that I worked in the building with those guys and can stand by their daily approach, but the nuances to the position, I think it's it's I wouldn't say it's ideal by any stretch. I think it's fortunate to know some guys, but ultimately I could care less if I've ever worked in the same building with the best candidate and the one that should be the next general manager for the Dolphins.
Mike, there was a report that the Falcons want to talk to Anthony Weaver about their head coaching job. Your reaction to that? And I know it's early. Has there been any decisions made regarding your coaching staff?
Well, I think first and foremost that if that's true, which I believe it to be, I think it's an awesome opportunity. I think he interviewed there a couple years previous, so there must be some real interest there. That'd be exciting. But I'd be getting ahead of myself. Listen, you don't go through a season like we just had and fall short of expectations. Flat out, I'll just say it. You don't have the season was a failure, and you don't do anything knee jerk, and you don't leave anything to assumption. I think the organization is depending on me to take a hard look at everything, because you don't leave anything on the table when the results aren't right. So to sit here and say anything about anybody's job, I need to take a hard and consistent look at what's not good enough, because our our record at 7-10 is not good enough. Watching the entirety of the playoffs is not good enough. So you get immediately into problem solving, and take the week to really evaluate everybody.
Can you describe Tyreek Hill's kind of visibility here since going on IR, and what kind of indications has it given you about next year?
I think it's a long injury process that he's really taken on the challenge. Anytime he's visible within the building, it's that same spirit and energy. What does that look like, and what does he have plans for? And that's his body and his decision and his career, whether or not he wants to play. And I think it's important to support his rehabilitation and have consistent and honest conversations when he's ready to have them. But his spirit's been great, and when we have seen him, and he's same guy, wise cracking jokes at inappropriate times.
Going back to what you were saying about the quarterback competition, do you believe your starter for 2026 is already on the roster, and how quickly do you guys need to figure that out?
I would not close the door on that by any stretch. I think there's a couple options that I could see, but ultimately we need to create the most competitive environment possible, and that means looking at all avenues and making sure that this team is fully suited from a competition standpoint at every position, and that every job is earned through nothing other than the grass and the play. So I think there was Quinn did a great job in his three games as a rookie, and I think quarterback play in general, you're always looking at such an important position to find someone that can give you a chance to win each and every game. I think Quinn gave us a chance, but to stand on business, Quinn knows that he has to continue to develop as well. And if he wants to be the player that I know he wants to be, he's going to have to grow into that with a good starting point being these 3 games.
Mike, what will your offense look like next season, especially if Tua and Tyreek are not here?
Well, I think a lot of the ways that I look at offense in general is trying to play to your strengths, and I think we had some games, not consistent enough, but we had some games where our line of scrimmage play was kind of how I envision football just in general in this offense, but where it goes and what type of matchups you're trying to utilize and what types of plays are all I think the best offenses are tailored to their players and the skill sets of their players. So I think one thing that in a otherwise underwhelming season, one thing that you did see was an adjustment in style of play towards the players based upon those who were on the team, and those adjustments to injuries. I think the more you create competition at some of the spots that I was happy that we developed at the offensive line position, but to say that we have enough depth and enough competition for those starting spots, that would be a falsehood. And I think the more you lean into that and the more that develops, it opens up all the opportunity to be anything you want and can be. But we also need to, continue to develop or in-house or get players from outside at our skill positions as well, just to be able to do the best thing against any opponent, because that's the idea, is you're trying to create offense that can find a way to succeed against any opponent in any arena, in any atmosphere. And to do that, we need to start with competition for all those spots to make us our best version of ourselves.
Mike, going back to Tua, in your opinion, what do you think was the root cause of some of the maybe hesitation that he showed on the field this season?
Well, I don't want to speak, for him. Again, we're going to meet tomorrow and kind of discuss the season in its entirety. But I think there's a lot on the plate of a franchise quarterback, and ultimately, I think it's my job to try to improve his play all of the time, every off season, within the season, and whether it was I don't want to throw out a headline that is short-sighted or short changes how many layers there are to performing at the quarterback position. What I do know is there's for the first time I assessed as my job whether or not he should be the starting quarterback on the team. That was as a result of inability to get some things done. And does that mean that's a forever thing for him in terms of being able to execute stuff that he's executed in the past? No, it doesn't. To have his game and the ownership of his game when it's at its height, that's something that we'll discuss. He'll have a lot of thoughts, and he'll have to work to get himself back to where we're all used to seeing. And I'll do my best in supporting that, and the rest we shall see.
Mike, how would you describe your first 4 years as Dolphins coach?
Well, I would describe my first 4 years. Listen, I was hired here to not just be the head coach. I was hired here to return a storied franchise to winning regular season games, playoff games, and Super Bowls. And I haven't done that. To me, the best. I think this season kind of embodied a little bit of how I see myself as in football. You have to respond. Your job is to respond to a bad quarter, a bad play, a bad series of plays, a bad series of games, and respond with authority to improve, and that's where I'm at right now. I see the defining point of my tenure with the Miami Dolphins in front of me, because I'm firmly in the response mode to something that I know is not good enough. Where does that leave us? I'll leave you guys to pontificate on how my journey's been. I know one thing, that every day that I'm employed by the Miami Dolphins as the head coach, I'm solely focused on doing what I was hired here to do. And eventually, like everybody else in this league, you're not entitled to these positions. And if I'm not able to win regular season games, playoff games, Super Bowls, eventually the job won't be mine. And I think that is the nature of the NFL, and shame on you if you expect anything else.
A question about your personality. With us, you've usually been a very joking, upbeat guy. This season, late in the season, you seem to get a little more serious. Are you going to go back to the joking, upbeat, jovial Mike McDaniel, or are you going to stay a little more serious like you are now? What do you think?
I try to have some level of awareness to me, and when on Sundays we're not producing wins in the type of football that I know that I'm hired here to produce, I'm pretty aware that no one wants to hear my sweet jokes. Like it's not. I'm the same. My job is to evolve into what produces the best results from people, and that is a that is an evolving process. And I think being a head coach in general, there's not necessarily a pamphlet for it. In the National Football League, at least, it's a different type of job that I think it's the most important to never rest and act like you have all the solutions or you're a final product. I'm constantly reinventing who I am based on responses, and my job is to elicit the strongest response from each and every player, and I think that's why you hear tonality changes, because my tone's different based on who I need to reach and how I need to reach them. And generally, nothing against you guys, but I'm not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When I'm in the mode of focused, convicted, concise points of emphasis, it spills over into my press conferences. But ultimately, I will continue to adjust and evolve based upon the results that I garner from however I'm instructing, really.
Largely because of big salary cap complications that are upcoming, it might seem that the roster is headed for a rebuild in 2026. Do you agree with that?
I think 2026 will be very important that along with the GM to be hired, that we make very prudent, educated, and smart decisions. And I think you have the availability to upgrade your roster in numerous ways. I think it'll be important to build on. I think we did add a draft class this past season that had that really we were relying upon rookies to execute for the most part of the season, and in the process they got some callous to where they know how tough it is to win in the National Football League and what it takes and what you got to put in. You need to continue that, and if you continue that, that's how really rosters are shaped in the National Football League. It's not whole fire sales. It's building upon what you have to grow and making sure that you continue a process of adding players to make your team better. I think 7-10 is not good enough. 1-6 is certainly not good enough. But the response that you saw with our football came from somewhere, and it's our jobs to identify exactly the parts of the solution and build upon that, and nothing else. So I don't see a complete rebuild. What I see is a team that needs to make smart decisions and can pound those smart decisions so that the interest can be conveyed.
On that note, did you like the direction of the culture of the locker room this year and the accountability there?
I think the players and the leaders of the locker room did an outstanding job taking something. And there's one way to, if you don't want to hear about player accountability and following rules, there's one way to take care of that, and that's to handle your business. I thought they did a tremendous job responding to my challenges, and that was not an issue. And moving forward, I don't see any other way but that way.
Do you feel like, just kind of going off your answer to Joe's question, do you feel like in the past few seasons there's maybe been too much of an emphasis on adding players via free agency and trades instead of building up through the draft?
I think the modern day salary cap solution is found through the draft, and the core of your team, and there's not, you can count on one hand how many people you have signed to 4 or 5 year contracts that are veterans. But what you do have in a draft class is that's where you can define your program. I think it's vitally important. I think there's many different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. However, with the broadening of the highest paid players at the highest paid positions, it makes it that much more vital for you to have a consistent team that you can reach and build upon. It makes it vital that you have strong rookie classes that can contribute not just for that year, but for years to come.
Similar. I know you talked obviously about the philosophical way about it. Build the team. Obviously, speed was very effective your first 2 years here. Do you think a fundamental change needs to be made in terms of building a team that can dominate? I know you've tried in some ways, that can dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage and prioritize that over speed at this point.
I understand your question for sure. I think I don't think we're done building the line of scrimmages like we emphasized last offseason. Just because we emphasized and we put forth some draft capital towards those positions doesn't mean that your job is complete. I think line of scrimmage play is a gigantic indicator on wins and losses, particularly in the later months of the season when it matters the most. So that is something that we'll continue to invest in. That we recognized we needed drastic improvement, and we'll continue to do that regardless of this past season, just because it is that important.
Regarding the GM hired, you guys have a number of candidates that will be interviewed, at least that's what we think. When can you realistically hire somebody, like before Senior Bowl, between Senior Bowl and Combine? Could you go into the Combine with no GM?
Well, I think realistically you just start the process, and sometimes setting arbitrary parameters can kind of lead you into a decision that you ultimately might have second thoughts on. I think a lot of that will be taken care of itself through the interviewees and the collective discussions that we have as a group, because I don't think being around Mr. Ross that if he and Brandon and Tom, if they're collectively, if we're all together thinking that we know who it is, we're not going to hesitate. But there's very qualified individuals that have been discussed, and there are chances that it can be a close race, and if that's the case, you have to continue with the process until you're convicted that you get it right. So time frame isn't as important, I think, to everyone as getting it right.
I know you said you don't want to reveal all the details, but I'm curious, since the end of the game, have you had a lengthy in-person, on the phone, Zoom, whatever, conversation with Mr. Ross?
Yeah, I've spoke with Mr. Ross, and realistically, we're getting together later in the week to discuss what needs to be discussed. We both share the sentiment that we're not where we want to be, and in this business, you have to have a plan and a plan of action to improve that play. And I think those discussions are very important and healthy, and I think the fan base is counting on that to occur. We're not just dismissing this season as oops, we'll try again. No, there's you're trying to attack things, control your controllables, and with a bottom line of we need to improve this football team now and set forth a plan to do that.
What's the biggest lesson you learned as a coach this year?
I think every year I'm kind of evolving to what I think can reach the most amount of players at the largest scale. I think, and like I said before, there's not really a pamphlet when you get into being a head coach. So I've observed, different sort of reactions based upon my temperament. I think I've learned a lot about the players on this 2025 team and what players need to be a part of 2026 based on the immense amount of adversity that we had to work through. And I've also learned that realistically that it is so important that you have a group of people that are trusting of each other and will fight for each other, because there's no better example than how stuff can hit the fan, like 1-6 or 2-7. And for me, I know I've found a multitude of ways that I need to be better, and kind of found I would say a cadence to the work week that I think best reaches the players, because that's the business that I'm in. I need to reach people, and so I try to not get in my own way by being steadfast in a certain approach, being shorter but crisper to a point, maybe minimizing some of the variables and trimming the fat to certain messages. And you have to adjust from being you have to adjust every year, but every year I'm in this, the more I've learned how far away those other positions of player relationships are. You need to move the needle. You are the head coach, and it's a wonderful opportunity that I take super serious, but there are some player relationships that aren't quite the same. So I've learned a lot, continue to learn, because to me that is the whole, that's how you separate yourself and are deserving of these jobs, is your ability to continue to progress and evolve as a person and a coach.
One of the things that we mentioned that kind of got the Dolphins off to a slow start, at least defensively, was piecemealing the roster together in August. Just considering the cap constrictions, the GM search, just how do you avoid, quote unquote, piecemealing the team together, this year?
Well, I think you do the best available course of action that you collectively can determine. To me, I'm not here to make excuses either way. I don't think people really have time for that. The play isn't good enough, and so we have to improve that. One of the ways that ideally you could improve something theoretically would be expand the amount of time people are together, for sure. But for me to, the bottom line is our product needs to be better, and every single way that we can make it better, including when and how we acquire players, that will be on the table, because it needs to be. We can't just live in hope. We have to create change.
How big amount of changes, if any, do you foresee with the scouting department? I've read that there might be something in the works there. What needs to be improved?
So I think that will be something that is of premium importance to the new general manager. That my job inherently will be to communicate known information or opinions when asked and resourced. But part of what makes good football teams is that people have accountability to their particular departments and have ownership over it. And so I see myself as an aid and a vessel, but in terms of the individuals currently in the scouting department, that's not for me to decide. That's for the general managers. But I'm very much going to be supporting of him. And the key is that we, collectively trust each other to do the job that needs to be done, and we're all moving in one direction.
Thanks.